Yes, this is Mr. Controversy, and this is the infamous three-point conversion station. Keep it locked.
Welcome to Brownstown, USA, and on this episode, we talk about our draft picks. We also get into some of your questions that you've asked us, and some funny stories that we've been hearing around the league. This should be a great episode. Very excited, and like I said, me and AKA Eric, AKA Stoshball, is going to sit down and get this done for you. Remember, the three-point conversion is where fans' opinions matter, and that is who powers this show. So without further ado, Brownstown, USA.
Got it back because I'm brown. So what's up? Coming at you live and direct. Yo, dude, represent. Mr. Roller Southtown. With that new sound. As we get down.
From coast to coast, representing all Dogtown. This is the Brownstown USA podcast, powered by the mighty three-point conversion. The three-point conversion, where fans' opinions matter. I'm Eric, and over there is LA. LA!
What's going on, everybody? Excited to be able to sit down with my boy Eric and go over some great things with you. Of course, you guys knew we had a draft, so we definitely got to discuss the picks and give you guys our opinions on that. Plus, we have some mailbag questions that we caught from Twitter. Make sure you follow us on all our social media at Brownstown USA, and feel free. Don't wait for us to ask or anything like that. If you have any Browns-related questions, get them to us, and we will make sure that we address them on air for you guys. Man, I'm excited. A lot of cool stories that came out, Eric, since we've been on the air. First one kind of spitting off, man. Did you get a chance to see the John Dorsey, Chris Ballard exchange from the Colts? Did you get a chance to look at that?
No, I didn't. What happened?
Okay, so the Colts have a thing like us called where, like how we have Building the Browns. They have a similar thing as well. Of course, not as good, but they went into the war room with Chris Ballard, their GM. And so they were on the clock ready to pick, and John Dorsey called them while they were on the clock. And so Chris Ballard picks up the phone, and he's like, "I'm working," and then hangs up on him. And so I'm laughing at that, and then they split off to him, and he's like, John's like my brother. He always is messing with me. I know that he's not serious. Like if he calls me while I'm on the clock, he just likes to mess with me and get my my blood pressure up. So they kind of pick around. And I thought the cool thing about that story was that John Dorsey kind of portrays like the serious guy, but the more and more stuff that comes out, he just seems more down to earth and funny. A guy that, like I said, I wouldn't mind having a cigar with, playing poker or something like that with, just hanging out with him and picking his brain.
Absolutely. I mean, one of the things about what we know is when you talk about general managers, they're always portrayed as these people that pretty much are all business. They have their suits and all that. They have their dress clothes. They come into work with their lunch pails. We get the idea basically from movies like Moneyball, where Billy Bean's portrayed as someone who's just trying to think about who and what his next move's going to be. Or probably the best example to use especially with our fan base, Draft Day, which seems to be very, what's the word I'm looking for? Too professional, because everyone's trying to get the most out of what they can get. But that's the thing, when you get down to it, John Dorsey is not like that at all. I mean, yeah, he handles his business, but how many times in, say, Building the Browns did we see him just be like, get that camera out of here, or do that? No. He can be funny, but at the same time, he knows that there's a time for business and that there's a time for fun.
Yeah, I agree. And the cool thing is that Elliot Wolf was actually on Cleveland Browns Daily earlier today, just talking about the selections that they made and just the whole process and all of that. And they definitely have a plan. They definitely love the Cleveland Browns, and they want to get this team better. And, of course, like everybody echoes, we look good on paper, but, I mean, you got to put it out on the field, so we get that. But also, Elliot, you know, was just talking about how the draft has changed a lot because now people are out here shopping for the bargain now. So they're more so looking for where they can get a player at the best value than just getting their guy. You see some teams that will go get their guy and it'll be a head scratcher or whatnot. But, you know, that's still, you know, their philosophy. But now most of the time people are just trying to get a bargain now. And I feel like we got some great bargains in this draft. So before we get into the draft and start breaking down the picks, another cool story. Actually, we have like two more cool stories. So another one was Stone Cold Steve Austin, man, just popped up in Berea and sat down on Cleveland Browns Daily again. We're going to have to chat with those guys because we're giving them a lot of shout-outs. But he sat down and was able to break down, crazily enough, just the whole entire football situation in Cleveland, what he feels about Freddie Kitchens, what he feels about Baker Mayfield. And the guy knew his stuff, man. I mean, I'm not a big wrestling fan, but, of course, if you don't know Stone Cold Steve Austin, you got to be, like, just disconnected from the world pretty much. But did you get a chance to catch any of his little bits or anything like that?
I did catch him a little bit. I mean, I myself am a WWE guy. Like, I watch, like, a lot of the modern ones. But the thing is, Stone Cold is the man, no matter what you do. I mean, come on, who didn't love watching, like, the Attitude Era, him flipping off Vince McMahon? But you know what? The guy loves football. It's actually funny. One of the people that, is an admin in the Brownstown USA, the group, actually was like, who? And I was like, what do you mean who? That's like saying you don't know who Dwayne The Rock Johnson is.
Well, he was more so asking because when I put in there, I said Stone Cold is on Cleveland Browns Daily right now. He's a Browns fan. And it's like our fans are so protective now of our team. And so he came back and was like, well, where was he? You know, like before and all this other stuff. And I'm like, dude, chill. He's connected with Freddie Kitchens. He's cool with him. And he's a Baker Mayfield fan. We knew we would bring people to our team as bandwagoners. So you got to kind of give people some leash here, especially if it's Stone Cold. I mean, like, you going to tell Stone Cold he can't be a Browns fan?
The crazy thing is, and this is honestly something that's very cool in my mind, the WWE connection to the Cleveland Browns is staggering. The other day, I was listening to a local radio station about a week before the draft. Good old JR, Jim Ross, was raving about Baker Mayfield, about how great he was. Of course, you have Austin. Current people like The Miz and Johnny Gargano are huge Browns fans, to the point that on Miz's show, they were actually doing a special about when the Browns won that first game against the Jets. So that's the thing. The WWE connection to the Cleveland Browns is remarkable right now. So if you're going to tell these guys, no, you guys are bandwagoners, you're not really fans, your hospital bill, not mine.
Exactly. Another cool story we ran across, of course, and it's actually generating a lot of buzz now, is Bleacher Report did a feature on Myles Garrett. And it basically depicted the article was such a good article because you don't normally see features written like that. I mean, he basically put out what Myles did on the field, but then added Myles' personal touch to it because Myles writes poetry, found that out. He's been writing poetry since 8 years old. So, like, after every little blip, he would put, like, a piece of Myles Garrett's poetry in the middle of it before he transitioned to another paragraph. And it was just beautifully written up. But, of course, the biggest thing that we picked out from that was that Myles came out and said that Greg Williams limited him and said, hey, you do these two moves, and that's all I want you to do. Now, during the season, Eric, we have criticized Miles a lot, or I know, with saying that it seemed like he only had one move. It seemed like he's always rushing past, especially when it came to run defense. He was always going past, where they would let him into the line so that the running back could hit a hole and go right past him and burn right past him. We've seen him, go too far, and miss the quarterback completely because he's just bull rushing, using that speed. After hearing this that he said about Greg Williams, Eric, how do you feel about Myles Garrett's season? How do you feel about, that whole exchange right there?
Well, if I'm going to be completely honest here, it actually makes a lot of sense at this point. I mean, look, the fact is, we saw Myles Garrett's college stuff. I know a lot of people were questioning the motor and all that, which he's obviously debunked since. But just think about the games that he did play in college. The guy was a freaking animal on the field. And when he was on, the dude was a freaking Tyrannosaurus Rex. When he was off, he was just a freaking Stegosaur or Triceratops, which isn't bad, but everybody wants to be that Tyrannosaurus Rex. The fact of the matter is, if Greg was telling him only do these two things, when we've seen him make moves, why do you want to limit him? I mean, it makes sense because when you go back to it, he was only doing those two moves.
Got you. Where I'm looking at on this, and at first I had the same thought as you did. But then I look back and, from his first year where he has 7 sacks and then now jumping up to 13 and a half, I'm sorry. As far as his stats, he jumped up to 13 and a half sacks, also went to the Pro Bowl. I'm wondering if Greg Williams was looking at it like this. Look, it's your second year. Let's just break it down to the foundation. Let's get you set there. And then once you get the hang of this, then let's add some more tools to your arsenal. Because everybody knows, and everybody has said this about Myles when we drafted him, he's a generational talent. He can definitely be one of the next Browns to go to Canton. The guy is just phenomenal. I mean, freak athlete. You haven't seen anything like it. So I'm wondering if Williams was just trying to break him down to his foundation real quick and then say, okay, you know what? We can add some more tools some more tools to the shed now. That's kind of how I looked at it.
I mean, it's a fair assessment, but the other thing we know with Greg Williams is that at times, and we've said this in the past, the guy was too aggressive at times. Like, he was too aggressive in his tactics, too aggressive in going after the quarterback. So at the same time, I think part of it also was he didn't view Myles as a guy that can really stuff the run, even though we know he can. He was always just telling Myles, just go in and get the quarterback. That's it. Let Agba or let Ogunjobi or I don't even know who our other defensive tackle was last year. I think it was Trevon Coley. Let them just get that second one or get the run.
Yeah, and I can agree with that. Another point I heard too is that, especially when you read this article, you see that Myles is smart. Like, he's not that, Joe Thomas said that most defensive linemen are kind of like that rockhead kind of people. But you see that Myles is smart. And another point that I heard is that Greg Williams isn't the type of teacher that wants to sit there and explain stuff to you. He's going to tell you what to do, and he doesn't want to hear no back talk. Just go out and do it. And what Joe Thomas was kind of saying is that maybe they butted heads a lot because Myles is a guy that asks questions. Like, he wants to know why. He wants to know how it works. And that's actually what most of the millennials are nowadays anyway, is I experienced this when I was a manager. They don't do well with the whole you tell them what to do and it's just because I said so. They're not like that. They, and you can say it too. I mean, you are one, and I'm right there on that cusp as well. So it's like we want to know how it works. Why are you telling me to do it this way? Not because we're being defiant all the time, but because we really just want to know. We want to learn. So I feel like with Williams, you got that old school mentality. And then you got Miles with the new school mentality, and they probably butted heads a lot because of that as well.
Absolutely, that would make sense.
So what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we will start chatting about these draft picks, man. Very excited to get into this one. So this is Brownstown, USA. We will be right back.
They better have the firefighters on standby because that city is about to burn down. That is a Brownstown, and they can feel it and they can taste it right now.
All right, and we are back, Brownstown, USA, powered by 3-Point Conversion. Again, guys, 3-Point Conversion is where fans' opinions matter. Make sure you hop over to 3pointconversion.com. Follow the main company at 3PTCNVRSN. Got you covered on all the latest news, sports updates, everything that your little heart can handle. We got you covered. Also, I want to send an appreciation out to you guys for listening. Thank you so much. The show is continuing to grow. Subscribers is coming in, so make sure you hit that subscribe button on however you're listening to us, whether it's Spotify, iTunes, anywhere, Twitter, whatever you're listening to us on. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Leave us a review, and, you know, we'll go from there and keep continuing to grow. So thank you so much for that. So, Eric, we didn't have a day one pick, so we will talk more about, I want to say, about our divisions draft picks probably next week. But let's get into day two, where we were on the clock. We were able to choose Greedy Williams, of course, and Sayone Takitaki. Yes. Okay. I was practicing that for a while. Not going to lie. So, I want to get your opinion on, of course, Greedy Williams and what have you seen from him? Where do you think he is going to be at as far as, do you think he's immediately going to hit the field? Do you think it may take a little bit for him to hit the field? Like, where are you going with this one?
Well, the thing is, I think we'll see him hit the field sooner rather than later. I'd like to see him on the field immediately, but I'm not the head coach, so I can't make that decision. I'm not the defensive coordinator, so I'm not going to tell him what to do in this situation. Case in point, though, Greedy Williams, so I was watching something. I don't remember what exactly it was, but oh, wait, now I remember. I was watching, I think, NFL Network, and someone said the Browns got – this was the first major Browns steal in the draft. The guy was a first-round talent. There were a lot of people that were saying he was going to be in the top 15. If I believe someone posted it about the average mock draft thing, and every pick had him go top 20. The highest he went was to the Steelers at 22, if I remember correctly. And that was where a lot of mock drafts had him going. It obviously didn't happen because they ended up trading up and getting Devin Bush. We ended up sticking around and grabbing Greedy Williams. So Greedy to me is one of those guys that is good. Now, the only two issues are that he didn't take visits with any teams. So that might be a sign of overconfidence, maybe a little bit borderline cockiness. But the other thing is he also has a bit of a tackling problem. But you know what? As a cornerback, they said the same thing about Deion Sanders. He's in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, looking at Greedy, and I actually went back and, like I said, looked at some tape on him. Very smooth. He can basically just cover the crap out of you. But the thing addressing his tackling is that Greedy is a guy, he's smart out there. So he's going to push you to the sideline anyway. That's what he does. So the tackling, I get it because and I want them to get better at that because also we've seen Denzel needs to get better with that as well so he doesn't get injured too much. But Greedy was one of the most smoothest, most fluent guys out there as far as being able to cover a guy. I seen him where he went up against DK Metcalf and gave him fits all game. And I know that DK is not that guy that you pick for, route runner kind of guy. But to see him handle a DK as physical and as big as DK is and how fast he is, that was actually a good sign to me. The thing is that, yes, it was definitely a good value to get him down there. But I did hear that a couple teams didn't even have Greedy on their draft boards, and you are right. It's definitely an attitude thing. The speculation is that they felt, especially last year, is that he checked out towards the end of the season, like he disappeared. Because if his team wasn't in contention, if his team isn't winning, they say that he checks out. And a lot of times, and I also heard too that some people were saying that he needs somebody in his face to get him hype, to get him ready to go, because he's just not in love with football. That's what I keep hearing. So that could be a reason for him sliding. Now, of course, I would hate for that to happen. If it doesn't pan out, I can't sit up here and be mad, because it wasn't a first-round pick. It wasn't a first-round overall or anything like that. It's still a second-round pick when it all boils down to it. So hopefully he can get his head straight. He has all the gifts and abilities to do it. But worst-case scenario, we could be looking at another Justin Gilbert. But, again, he wasn't picked in the first round like Gilbert was. So
the other thing you got to also realize with this is LSU went through a big change while he was there, if I remember correctly, because he was, a sophomore or a junior this year? Or was he actually a senior?
I believe he was a sophomore. A junior. My bad. Hold on one second.
Yeah, because the thing is, if I had to take a guess, he might have signed on when Les Miles was the head coach. And that's the thing. One of the things that Les Miles does is he's a bit of a hard ass when you get down to it. No offense to the new coach. I didn't see the same fire that you would see from from LSU that you would have seen under Les Miles.
Yeah, understood.
It's no excuse, but
I know he okay, he was a junior. Yeah, just like I said. So yeah. No, I get it, man. I do. But at the same time, like, certain things happen outside of your ability. We've seen that with the Browns. Whole coaching staff could be fired. It happens. I know it's not gonna happen to this regime, but stuff happens, man. So the players that I like are players that focus on football and not worry about things around them that's going on.
absolutely.
I don't care who's out there coaching me. I'm getting to play football. That's the kind of guy that I want. And that's the kind of guy that I see, Eric, in Sion Takitaki. Now, of course, awesome name. And I'm going to love saying Taki. Just, because it rolls off the tongue. But let's go and get this out here about Taki. He had rumors, saying that he was an off-the-field problem, this, that, and the other. This happened early in his collegiate career. Kicked off at BYU, but was able to come back, play football, and get voted to be the team captain for his senior year. That doesn't normally happen to head cases, okay? He got married. He had a baby. He is focused. But the cool thing about Taki, man, and I don't know if you got a chance to hear this or not, but I heard him in an interview. He said that when the Browns called him to draft him, he was actually sitting on the toilet. And when he seen Cleveland, Ohio popped up, he said he stopped midstream pretty much. It hopped up, man. It took the call. So just a hilarious thing. At first, it seemed like he was being real stiff in the interview. Then he finally opened up. But if you watch tape on this kid, Eric, this guy flies. I mean, he is vicious. He is nasty. He flies around this field, and his versatility is great. So how do you feel about Taki? What's your opinion on him?
Well, I think Takis are great snacks. And we're talking about Taki, the player.
This guy, man. I knew he was going to get a bad pun in here at some point.
Well, the thing about Taki is, and someone brought this up, we'll probably start off on special teams for right now, but kid can fly. He can really hit, too, if you've ever seen him. Like, the only problem with him is that he is not good in coverage, which, unfortunately, we've kind of paid a little bit of a price with the past few years. So, the thing is, if they can develop him, I think he could be another gem discovered by John Dorsey. I mean, thing is, linebackers, you don't know what you're going to get more than half the time, but the minute that they start to show promise, you see them look like a genius. I mean, last year, how many people were expecting Jannard Avery to do what he did? Kid looked good, and now there's a good chance he'll be starting. And now we have Taki, and then there's one other person we'll get to a little bit later. If I'm Joe Schobert and he's coming up on his contract year, I might be a little nervous because if they do well, you might not be getting paid. By us, at least.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, Joe is limited in certain ways as well, but I can't get over the fact that he had over 100 tackles. I mean, we'll see how it all fits out because Taki too this past year, he had over 100 plus tackles as well. So we know that he's going to get in the trenches, get dirty, do what he got to do. So what I heard also about Taki is that a lot of people had him and was going to draft him as well. So the Browns kind of like snatched him from a couple teams, and a couple teams out there was like, dang, man, like we were definitely going to try to take him. So, you know, I know a lot of people was scratching their heads thinking like Taki, and we could have waited for him. That's not the case. Not the case at all. So getting into the next pick, we have Sheldrick Redwine, safety from Miami, Florida. Some more secondary. We doubled up. You know, we got Greedy. Now we got Sheldrick. I'm not really sure on him. I know a lot of people have been high on him, but I'm not sure yet. Like, I think one great, special teamer, he'll be good there on special teams, immediate impact there. And then I also feel like he'll provide depth for us at safety. But the thing about him is that he's versatile. He's played safety and he's also played corner as well. So he'll be one of them guys that we can slide back and forth if injury hits us there.
Mm-hmm. Like, that's the thing. The fact of the matter is, Redwine, I think he could end up being a guy somewhere down the road. He's not going to start because right now, have you seen our safety core? I mean, you have two good safeties back there. You don't know what's going to happen with Demarius Randall, and some people think that he's getting more and more frustrated based on his Twitter, which is not a good thing to go off of, but, you know, it's just what it is. I mean, I wouldn't blame him for being a little frustrated about not getting paid after seeing some of these contracts that are coming out right now. That said, though, I think that Redwine, for right now, he's a physical safety. He can hit. I think that if they can develop him a little bit, you have a good solution in case either Burnett or Randall get hurt, or if Randall leaves, you got yourself a good backup plan.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, again, Redwine may be that name that you don't hear too much this season, but then next season, like, he just blossoms because, like you said, Burnett, he's 30. So, you know, he's on it's a 2-year, but pretty much a 1-year deal with us. So we may see or hear from Redwine a little bit later. Now, getting to one of my favorite picks, man, Mack Wilson, linebacker from Alabama. Everybody in the world, I believe, was shocked to see him go this low. Everybody had at least the 3rd round grade on him. I know before people were talking about him being one of the best linebackers in the draft at a certain point last season during the college football season. But he was a signal caller at Alabama. I mean, this guy not only helps us with our depth at linebacker, of course, but this guy may end up being the gem of the entire, the belle of the ball, as they say.
Mm-hmm. Like, that's the thing. A lot of people talk about the fact that he was a day 2 guy, like 2nd round, 3rd round player. The reason that he fell and this is something that just bugs the living hell out of me, and it really does. He fell because he said he would rather go later in the draft to a team that's the right situation for him rather than go earlier. Essentially the same thing that happened with Drew Luck during the draft because, well, that's exactly what happened. What people need to realize is that if someone has the talent and he's saying he'd rather go later to the right situation, is that necessarily a bad thing? I mean, keep in mind, how many times have we seen a player that gets drafted to the wrong situation at their right pick? For example, I hate to even bring this guy up. What's to say that Jamarcus Russell couldn't have had a better career if he actually had a better coach or a better system to play in? What's to say that Jimmy Clausen could have been great and couldn't be great? These are tremendous busts, I know, and I know you're giving me the look like, what the hell are you talking about? But the thing is, people don't realize fits are huge things in today's NFL.
No, I understand and I agree. Look, I don't mind a player saying that. I don't. And especially, I mean, he's a linebacker. Like, my goodness. Like, why would you care that he says that? You know what I mean? Like, I can understand if it was your QB or whatever, and you might be scratching your head like, man, okay, do we have the right system for this guy? But, I mean, he's a linebacker for goodness sake. And just because he said he wanted to go to a right fit, well, he found a right fit. So we're going to definitely do what we need to do with him. But, look, man, let's take a quick break, getting all this draft talk out and all of that. We're going to come back, talk about another questionable one that kind of tore our fan bases. Well, we are always getting torn apart, because we always find the little things to nitpick about. But we'll talk about that. Then we'll get into some of your questions that you had for us at the doggy bag. And then we'll wrap this up with a nice little neat bow. This is Brownstown, USA. Be right back.
I'm Larry Gajobi from the Cleveland Browns. I'm rocking with the 3-Point Conversion Radio.
And we are back, Brownstown, USA. We just got done talking about your draft picks from day 2 and day 3. Now we're going to talk about this other pick here. So, Eric, one thing that a lot of Browns people was scratching their heads on, or it kind of broke out into a full-out argument, was the pick of Austin Seibert in the 5th round, kicker punter from Oklahoma. Now, he was 80% of his field goals in college, 98.4% for extra points. But they basically said that this guy had never attempted a 50-yarder at all ever. Again, he never had to, though, because he played on Oklahoma. So played with some pretty good quarterbacks there where he didn't really have to worry about kicking 50-yarders. But they said he nails them in practice. But everybody was kind of scratching their heads about this one, man. 5th round kicker punter. I'm gonna bounce it to you real quick, man, and then I'll put in my 2 cents. So, what do you think about this pick here?
I was very vocal about this. I don't like the pick at all, to be honest. I mean, no offense. I get why they did it. He's a good competition kicker. He'll definitely be pushing Greg Joseph to the limit. But the problem is, college is a whole different game than NFL. I mean, keep this in mind. A couple years ago, we took the best kicker in the draft, and he flamed out. And you know exactly who I'm talking about. Zane Gonzalez. He flamed out, and everyone was saying, oh, he looks good, and then he missed over 50% of his field goals first 3 or 4 games of this season. So,
well, to Zane's credit, though, when he signed on with the other team, I can't remember off the top of my head. Arizona, he bounced back. So,
well, that's because, the thing is, not everybody can kick in Cleveland weather. We get that. Oklahoma and Cleveland are two completely different areas in terms of that. One has more of a drier air. I mean, yeah, it's a little windy, but Cleveland, you're right on the lake where you have all that wind, which for a quarterback, you can adjust to that. Kicking is a lot harder. If I remember correctly, also, how far are field goals in college? Like point afters.
Why are you trying to throw me all these random trivia questions?
Because if I remember, I don't know. I just can't remember personally. I don't think it's the case, but aren't the modern kick and field goals a little bit longer in the NFL nowadays? Because I thought point afters was still like at the 2 to 5 yard line in college. I could be wrong on that one, and I probably am. But
yeah, because the NFL had changed it and made them scoot back. So yeah, you're right about that.
So that's number one. Like when you play college ball, you're not kicking it from the long distance that you are for a point after, which makes point afters just not a gimme like they seem to be in college. And well, the other thing is, do we really need a kick? I mean, we're not going to drive down the field every single time. Just looking at our games alone, we still play the Patriots. We still play some top team. We play the Rams. We play some top defenses this year. We're probably going to need to take long field goals. So if he can't hit longer field goals, there's going to be a problem here.
Yeah, if I'm looking correctly, I think the extra point is a 33-yarder for the NFL compared to, I think, 25 for college. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys, when you guys listen to this, but, yeah, see, the thing with me is that, and this is the problem here. I tweeted this out. Look, we love John Dorsey, have no problem with the guy, but it is okay to disagree with the guy. Okay, you don't have to love every single move that he does. Doesn't make you less than a fan. Doesn't make you a bad person. I had to tweet this out because it just seemed like people didn't understand it. You had those people that were apologetic and was saying, oh, yeah, it's a kicker, but he can punt too, and he's versatile, and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, dude, you're trying to talk yourself into this. We felt like – I felt like we could have got him. I mean, kickers – first of all, I don't even remember that many kickers getting drafted, first of all, unless it was like in the 7th round. Then also, too, most of them get signed undrafted free agent anyway. I understand he was the best kicker that was in that draft. I get it. I still feel that 5th was a little bit too high. Was too high. Period. Point blank. Yeah, you might have got a good guy, but 5th was too high. Now, as far as what that means for Greg Joseph, I'm pretty sure they'll keep Greg Joseph around to kick in the training camp. But at the end of the day, you're not going to spend a 5th rounder to just cut him or let him go. So I feel like he's going to be the one that comes out anyway and kicks for us when it all boils down to it, which makes me nervous. Having a rookie kicker out there with having the type of season that we want to have, that's going to be absolutely nerve-wracking. But every time I seen Greg Joseph kick a ball, it was absolutely nerve-wracking as well because he had that weird knuckleball-looking thing or whatever, and I was like, holy crap, like, did that go through or not? I mean, a lot of times we had to keep checking. So, yeah, man, definitely just too high. But look, we will get into, like I said, some of the undrafted free agent signings. We got some more of that. We didn't really do too much on that end. If I'm remembering off the top of my head, I believe you posted a list actually of the undrafted free agent signings on Brownstown USA. Hop over there and check that out. We will do some more in-depth analysis on that and get that to you guys next week, especially since rookie minicamp will be this weekend. So we'll talk a little bit more about that next week. But we got some mailbag questions, man. So wanted to definitely hop into that real quick, pull some stuff out of the mailbag. First question was this. Everybody's infatuated with Duke Johnson, Eric.
Mm-hmm.
But we seen he's here. We didn't trade him. If we were going to trade him, probably would have been during the draft. We didn't trade him yet. It doesn't look like we're going to trade him. And as Coach Freddie Kitchen said, Duke is under contract, man. So, I mean, whatever he wants to do, it is what it is. He's under contract. So, people are still asking, what is his trade value?
Well, right now, if any of the rumors that we're hearing are true, it's at this point, it's for a player that somebody wants to get rid of the contract of, or they just want to get them off the roster. Like, some of the names that I would probably, for lack of a better word, not be surprised about. We've heard Gerald McCoy's name come up. We've heard Darren Lee, which, you know what? I'm going to be honest, it's still possible because while we have these two young kids, at the end of the day, they're still rookies. So they're going to need someone to train them, especially since Darren Lee, I believe, still has a year left. I wouldn't be surprised if someone even – I wouldn't be surprised if the name Jack Conklin even got thrown in there because the Titans announced that they are not picking up his option. So I have a feeling, maybe it's just me, that Cleveland is going to be trading for a player. You're not going to get a draft pick next year because next year you're still not going to get as much as people think. I'm tired of hearing this. We can get a first or second rounder for he ain't worth it. Running backs don't get that much anymore. It would probably be like a fifth or a sixth next year.
This is how I feel about the Duke Johnson situation. I feel like he's probably going to play coy a little bit and then, of course, show up to training camp or whatnot. But the thing is that we've seen with John Dorsey. John Dorsey doesn't mind pulling a punch whenever he feels like he needs to pull a punch. We've seen Carlos Hyde get dealt in the middle of the season. I kind of feel like that if we're going to deal Duke, it's going to be around about the same thing like how we did with Carlos Hyde. Carlos got us back a fifth, which was just absolutely insane to get a fifth for him because we shouldn't even have got that. But I see Duke giving us a fifth or a sixth, or it's going to be about situation. Remember, we're going through the NFL season and things happen. So you can see a team go out there and their starting running back gets injured. Or their primary backup gets injured, and then now they have the need. And I think that's why John Dorsey is keep holding on to Duke because he's like, dude, there's nobody that needs him yet. Let's create a market, a demand for this market. And that's literally what I think he's holding back on. Also, too, let's remember, yeah, we got Kareem Hunt, but that don't mean that, Kareem ain't going to be back for a while. I mean, so we still gonna need somebody to come in and spell out for Chubb, and I mean, and that may make Duke happy right there for the time being. And then when the market is demanding for a running back, a good playmaker like that, because somebody's gotten injured or something like that, or gotten in trouble because it happens, then okay, now we can deal Duke, and then now we may see it that trade value creep up to maybe a third or a fourth round pick.
That's true. Like, I'm just answering the basic question and for what the value is at this point in time. Like, at this point in time, I think we can agree that it would probably be like a later round draft pick at this point. But like I said, I would not be surprised if there is another player in the works right now.
Absolutely. So second question coming out is, how do we feel about the salary cap situation now? I looked up on Spot Track. We seen it that we're sitting at here still projected to be about $33 million under the cap. That's including Odell Beckham's contract, and then they were also projecting the contracts of the rookies. So, of course, not an official number, but just projected $33 million under the cap. I mean, I don't really know how to address this question because we're $33 million under the cap. So it's not like we're creeping up there. We have plenty enough space to take on bad contracts if we need to, if we think it's going to help us for the time being. If we see that window opening, and that's what I'm thinking, Eric, that's going to happen this season. It's like, yo, if we start off fast and that window is open and we're like, look, let's just go for the gusto, I can see John Dorsey saying, you know what, let's take on a couple bad contracts here and let's see how far we could push this season, because we're not going to just, let go of the whole season or whatever and just wait for next year and say, oh, yeah, we're better. Sometimes when that window opens, sometimes things happen, in the league or whatever, and it's able to get us to the Super Bowl. So I can see that happening. What about you?
Absolutely. I mean, if people are going to really get upset about being $33 million under the cap, did you even pay attention to the last few seasons? The last few years, we were close to $100 million under the cap. And that was including signing the names that we did, like Kevin Zeitler and J.C. Treader. The fact is, we can't, and we don't need to put aside all this money anymore. There's no need to be able to bury the acorn, if you will. Fact of the matter is, we should be going out there and spending right now. The fact that Cleveland is right on the verge of being a contender, on paper at least. So if this pans out, I'd say go out and spend it. I mean, look, it's definitely important that we need to get people like Garrett and Baker signed in the future, whether it's near or after that 5th year. But we got it. I mean, you keep enough to try to negotiate and try to keep them there. But at the same time, you got to spend some money if you want to win games nowadays.
Absolutely. No, you're right. And that's kind of what happens. And then, of course, you hear the whole thing. We're in our window. Baker's on his rookie contract. Garrett is still on his rookie contract. All these important pieces are still on their rookie contract. So this is the time to do it. Get these cats in here. Yeah, maybe it may be a bigger contract, but 1 or 2 years, boom, it disappears. Then you can go pay your players. So, yeah, that's kind of where we're at when it comes to the salary cap, man. Yeah, that's kind of where we put it at, man. So, look, again, thank you guys for listening to Brownstown USA. Again, catch us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We have a fan page. We have a group that you're more than welcome to join at Brownstown USA. Can't thank you guys enough for listening. Make sure you smash that subscribe button. Make sure you follow us. Make sure you give us a review. Let us know how we're doing here. And we will be back next week with some more draft talk, undrafted free agents, and then whatever else happens to pop up. And again, Baker Mayfield believes in Sasquatch, so you never know what you're going to get on this show.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So before we sign off, let me go ahead and give you some spoilers to both Game of Thrones and Marvel Endgame.